Today we're tasting every US president's favorite food, starting with the one and only George Washington. His favorite food was hoe cakes with honey, which is essentially a rustic cornmeal pancake. Today we'll be stacking the Democrats and Republicans against each other to ultimately find out which political party reigns supreme. Not bad. Welcome, Sophia and Kyle. Now, George Washington was a Federalist, which is more closely aligned with the Democratic Party. So for our first Democratic food...
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, this is not for you. Usually it's Tibby who gets up there. Honestly, a little dry. I definitely get the cornmeal in there.
It's not really sweet, and I like that.
It kind of reminds me of like a cake. I would go for more.
And the results. I think you guys are crazy, but that puts the Democratic approval rating starting at a 6.3. Moving on. The second US president is John Adams, and his favorite food is hard cider. John Adams was the first US president to live in the White House, but I gotta be honest, you're kind of a degenerate if your favorite food is a drink that is alcoholic. Straws in. It's super sweet, but kind of has like a fermented aftertaste.
Kind of reminds me of that mead that we made. Remember that?
Yes.
I love hard cider, but as a favorite food, I just don't see it.
Not for us. Our third US president was Thomas Jefferson, and his favorite food was mac and cheese. And apparently he seduced his wife playing the violin. Where are the ladies at? He was a statesman, planter, diplomat, lawyer, architect, philosopher, founding father, nation's first secretary, primary author of the Declaration of Independence, vice president, and president of the United States. AKA, this guy was quite the underachiever. And to plate, it's of course going in the cheese wheel. No matter how hard I try, I just can't seem to escape this thing in a YouTube video. And for our first Republican taste test, it is time for mac and cheese. This is really bringing me back to that time I cooked for that 5-year-old. I love Kraft mac and cheese.
The presentation is on point too with this wheel.
It makes it better. Putting our Republican approval rating at a 46, just barely beating out the Democrats, but let's move on. The fourth US president is James Madison, and his favorite food is ice cream. And somehow, with a food choice like this, he was still the smallest US president, weighing in at a whopping 100 pounds and a stature of 5'4". I love ice cream, but if it's gonna be a favorite food, I feel like it has to be savory.
Well, obviously you're gonna say your favorite food is a steak, but I have a sweet tooth and I like it.
I'm with you.
And some very strong scores for the Republicans. Let's move on. James Monroe was the 5th US president, and his favorite food was fried chicken. James Monroe governed in a time where the US population was a total of only 10 million, roughly the size of New York City, which is kind of crazy to think about. We're gloving up for this one.
I'm going for a good old breast.
I mean, it's crunchy, it's juicy. We're all in agreement, right?
Yeah.
Biggest fan.
What?
I love chicken, but I prefer it grilled.
I know James Monroe is rolling in his grave right now, and you guys might not know this, but this is actually the same year that A1 steak sauce was invented. And it's kind of crazy to think that this was made in the same time period as the Civil War. Let that sink in.
Hey Max, there's a sink at the door for you.
That's so dumb.
You know what, this country could use a delicious steak sauce.
Yeah, mid-Civil War. John Quincy Adams was the 6th US president, and his favorite food was fresh fruit. Seeing as cameras were invented in the early 1800s, John Quincy Adams was the very first president to be photographed. This is the only right way to cut a watermelon. Shout out Golden Balance who taught me this.
I eat fruit with like every meal, so I love this. I think this is a good call.
I think he's an undercover vegan.
I don't hate his choice, I don't love it.
Kyle, we are no longer friends.
These guys, they're like an old married couple over here.
Our 7th president is Andrew Jackson, and his favorite food was green beans and bacon. Andrew Jackson's face is on the $20 bill, and he apparently had a giant 1,400-pound block of cheese in the White House. I don't know, this guy kind of sounds like an idiot. Who would ever buy that much cheese? He left it in the entrance hall of the White House to age for 2 years, and in 1837, he invited the public to come and eat it.
I'm not the biggest fan.
That's my sister right there. There is one element of this dish that I absolutely love, and one that I absolutely hate.
You hate bacon? It kind of reminds me, you know, in China, we would eat that green bean and minced meat.
Once again, an extremely artificially high number for the Democrats based on Kyle here.
What? I feel like you guys are teaming up or something. That tastes amazing. I love green beans.
Green beans. The 8th president was Martin Van Buren, and his favorite food was oysters Rockefeller. Oysters Rockefeller is a classic, and you start with fresh live oysters. We got a twin oyster shaped like a heart. I mean, look at that thing. After shucking, you top with a creamy mixture. There's spinach in there and feta. It is an amazing combination, and it's finished off with some breadcrumbs. Fun fact about Martin Van Buren, he was the only president to have English as his second language, as he was Dutch. In fact, I'm half Dutch as well.
Kind of reminds me of broccoli cheddar soup.
It's creamy, it's cheesy.
I like it, but I feel like all I can really taste is the top part, and I don't really taste much oyster.
Very strong showing for the Democrats. Moving on. Number 9 is William Henry Harrison, and believe it or not, his favorite food was squirrel stew. Now, I couldn't find a squirrel, so instead we're using a rabbit. Tibby, why does he kind of look like you? Now, I really don't eat rabbit too often, but every time I've had it, it's fantastic. Kind of wild fact about Harrison, but he delivered the longest inaugural address on record through incredibly cold weather. As a result, he developed a terrible cold, which led to his death. That is a tough way to go. Sophia, you remember our little pet named Bun Bun?
I miss Bun Bun.
Well, he's evolved into his final form. Yeah, well, it's supposed to be squirrel, but the flavor of the stew is on point. The texture of the rabbit is like braised, kind of reminds me of chicken.
It is a good soup.
I think this game meat thing isn't for me, to be honest. If that was actually squirrel meat, it probably would have been way worse.
And the 10th president was John Tyler. His favorite food was Indian pudding. I'm actually really excited about this one. It's like a spiced pudding with cinnamon, nutmeg. And fun fact about John Tyler, in a time period where the average family was about 5 people, he himself had 15 children and 2 wives. He was a very busy man. It reminds me of like the inside of a pumpkin pie. I wish there was more crunch to it. Like the crust is just so important.
I love the cinnamon and nutmeg hints that we get in there.
A little molasses too.
That doesn't do it justice. This is awesome. You guys should try to make it.
The 11th president was James Polk, and his favorite food was cornbread. He was a super sickly child and actually didn't begin his education until he was 18 years old. I guess that means pretty much anyone can be president. Kyle, you down?
Yeah, Kyle Tibby 2024.
I could eat it all day long.
It's average, it's nothing special for me.
For me, it has one use case. You're eating a bunch of ribs and you need to break up all the richness so you have a bite of cornbread. Well, the Republicans seem to be taking an early lead. Moving on. The 12th president was a man named Zachary Taylor, who unfortunately passed away after only 1 year of his presidency, but his favorite food was Southern-style rice fritters. He served during a time period where the price of beef was literally only 7 cents a pound. I'm just dreaming of all the ribeyes I could have cooked. The rice includes flour, sugar, and all sorts of aromatic flavors like cinnamon. I'm actually looking forward to this one.
Honestly, it's kind of like a worse fried dough. It's a bit dense.
The first taste I got was powdered sugar and cinnamon, but the inside just wasn't really doing it for me.
I just feel like it doesn't need to be deep fried. I tasted it before and it was fantastic on its own. Average across the board. Millard Fillmore was number 13 and he kept it classic with a beef stew. Super tender chuck roast with potatoes is my favorite way to do it. And this guy, Millard Fillmore, was Zachary Taylor's vice president, who only became president when Zachary Taylor passed in office.
It reminds me of the holiday time. You have those potatoes, the carrots, the beef, just all those flavors. I love it.
For me, it's kind of basic, and I way prefer like a hunk of meat that I can slice and eat like a steak.
I also like having, if I'm gonna have steak, like a nice piece of meat.
Another good showing for the Republicans to maintain their lead. The 14th president was named Franklin Pierce, and his favorite food was fried clams. He was known for having 7 small dogs and 2 birds, which were a gift from Japan. That White House must have been looking like a zoo. And our Democrat and Republican approval ratings are still extremely close. Time for fried clams. Those right there bring me back.
I'm with you. That just reminds me of summer and just good childhood memories.
I'm really not the biggest fan of fried clams. I love raw oysters and things like that.
Sophia, I'm with you on this one. Our 15th president was James Buchanan, and his favorite food was sauerkraut. This man tried to mediate the North and the South, but ultimately failed in preventing the Civil War. I imagine that failure had something to do with his poor decision-making skills as reflected by his choice in food.
I'm not looking forward to this one.
I really hope we can all reach some political food common ground on this. Sauerkraut deserves to be in one place and one place only, and that is in a Reuben.
I don't disagree.
There are so many other things I'd rather eat than that.
That is a tough showing for the Democrats, and it could very well cost them this whole election. Number 16 was perhaps the most historically significant president of all time, and I'm proud to say that his favorite food was bacon. I mean, it doesn't get more American than this. Lincoln is credited with the abolishment of slavery, and he was an absolute beast at 6'4". Turns out he was also an amazing wrestler, losing only 1 out of his over 300 matches. Must have been from all that protein consumption. Sadly, his life was taken in a theater while he was celebrating the end of the Civil War, but he's gone down in history as a straight up boss. Let me know in the comments if this is also your preferred bacon type. Got a little bend to it, but still nice and crispy. Oh yeah. If you're the type of man who's willing to publicly admit that bacon is your favorite food, that is a sign of confidence, of strength.
Bacon was disgusting. Enemy spotted. Just kidding. Bacon's great.
I can only have like 1 or 2 pieces and then I get tired of it.
Now I know what to get Max for his birthday this year.
The 17th president was Andrew Johnson, and his favorite food was popcorn. Johnson actually never attended school at all. In fact, he taught himself how to read. He became the mayor of Greenville, Tennessee at the ripe age of 22, and he also bought the state of Alaska. I didn't even realize you could do that. I think I might have overdone it.
Oh my God.
No!
Dude, you're killing us.
It bounced right off. Can we get an instant replay of that? I mean, it's popcorn.
Cool seeing it homemade, but
I like popcorn in one setting, and that's at the movie theater.
2s across the board. And our 18th president is Ulysses S. Grant, with his favorite food being rice pudding. And he was president during what may just be the most revolutionary invention of all time.
No way, the shake weight's that old?
Now, the telephone. I like it, it's a little sweet.
I actually think that's one of my favorite desserts I've ever eaten.
I could definitely eat that again. I'm a huge fan.
Strong showing for the Republicans, who maintain their lead in the polls. Number 19 is Rutherford B. Hayes, and just like George Washington, his favorite food was cornmeal pancakes. And we already know Sophia and Kyle were huge fans of that one. What it means is that it's a 6.3 for the Republicans. Number 20 was James Garfield, and somehow his favorite food was also squirrel stew. But what it means is it's another 5.3 for the Republicans. The 21st president was Chester Arthur, and his favorite food was mutton chops. Chester Arthur was known for being extremely fashionable and even changed clothes for each occasion throughout the day. For that reason, he earned the nickname Elegant Arthur, and it's reported that he had over 80 pairs of pants. Oh, you're gloving up for this one, Kyle.
This is a glove job if I've ever seen one.
You gloving up?
Gloving up.
I'm going raw.
That is incredible.
It is literally the ribeye of lamb. You can't beat it.
I feel like mutton's just slightly gamey, but I actually do think that that sauce on top is awesome.
Psych!
Oh,
Got him! That's a crazy score.
you're too loose with your 9.
I'm a meat guy, okay?
Says who?
Our 22nd president of the United States was Grover Cleveland, and his favorite food was pickled herring. Honestly, a pretty healthy favorite food, though he was named as the least healthy president in history due to his love of drinking and smoking cigars.
I freaking love this stuff.
We ate this a lot as kids. It's salty, it has it's almost like a pickle flavor. It is pickled herring.
The pickled herring is really, really sweet, and I don't like sweet pickled stuff, I like salty. This is the one from the Viking video, right?
That is the one from the Viking.
Yeah, I thought it looked familiar. You're trying to tell me that you ranked that better than ice cream?
I mean, I could literally eat that stuff all day.
The 23rd president was Benjamin Harrison, and his favorite food was corn with butter and salt. Harrison had a pet goat named Old Whiskers who lived in the White House. He was also the very first president to have electricity in the White House, and he was so nervous about this new invention that he had a servant turn on the lights for him. All right, kids, bedtime.
It's kind of average.
It's corn.
Oh my God, it's corn.
Relatively low score here for the Republicans. That should tighten up the race. President number 24 is, once again, Grover Cleveland with his pickled herring. He was the only president to serve non-consecutively until quite possibly this year, and what that means is it's another 4 for the Democrats. The 25th president was William McKinley, and his favorite food were eggs. Was eggs? Grammar. For reference, a carton of eggs back in his day cost a mere 20 cents. And before becoming president, he was a teacher making $25 a month. Maybe that's why all he could afford were eggs. Kyle's going no yolk, watching that cholesterol, I see.
My cholesterol's super high.
How's that going for you, by the way?
I don't know how to answer that. I guess it's going all right.
My cholesterol is fantastic.
Really?
Yep.
Like what number roughly?
Oh, I don't know.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
It's an egg.
But it's so versatile. You can do sunny side up, scrambled with cinnamon sugar. That's a really good one.
Really?
The team is shifting in this direction.
The team is shifting. Once again, you're ranking the egg as high as the ice cream.
Hey, what if I want to put, eggs on my ice cream?
Number 26 is Teddy Roosevelt, and his favorite food was steak and gravy. He was the first sitting president to physically leave the country, and to this day, he's still the youngest president in history. He was also firm in his mission to make sure American beef products were safe to consume, signing the Meat Inspection Act into law in 1906. Without him, I may have never been the meat guy. This is my speed. Though I will say, gravy does not belong on a steak.
The gravy, I think, kind of ruins steak.
A chimichurri, I think, would be amazing on this.
Some pretty big numbers across the board. Number 27 was William Taft, whose favorite food was steak and potatoes. And for the steak, we have an ancient relic from deep in my meat freezer. Some of you guys might remember this. It is from 2021, the Sour Patch Dry Age. Will this thing still be edible? Honestly, I have no idea. The crazy thing is, it still smells exactly like Sour Patch Kids. I am gonna remove that pellicle area just so it doesn't burn. But if I recall, the steak tasted exactly like Sour Patch Kids all throughout. Just season with salt, and we'll just pan sear. And as expected, we have a ton of extra caramelization due to that sugar content. But I have to say, for a 3-year-old Sour Patch steak, this is looking pretty good.
I remember that flavor.
Something tastes different on here.
Do you like it?
It's pretty good, yeah.
It was dry aged in Sour Patch Kids.
No
You
way.
get that sweetness?
Kind of, now that you mention it. What do? You just wrap them in it?
You should watch the video. Actually, you guys all should watch the video for that matter. Despite being frozen for 3 years, it tastes the exact same as it did back then.
This was my favorite dry age project we ever did.
Really?
I'd definitely eat that one again if it didn't take so long to make.
The 28th president was Woodrow Wilson, and his favorite food was chicken salad. He served during the notorious and extremely horrific years of World War I. But on a slightly lighter note, this was also the time period where the fortune cookie was invented. What the f? I don't really believe in these things anyway.
Yum.
Oh, you hate salad. You're Max the meat guy. That is not true. I love salad when it's made out of chicken.
This is probably the best chicken salad I've ever had. I think it's because they only use chicken breast.
And a massive score for their Democrats. This lifts them from a 40 to a 43% approval rating. This race just got a lot closer. Number 29 was Warren Harding, and his favorite food was chicken pot pie. Clearly, I have a lot of work to do when it comes to making a proper chicken pot pie. This is a mess. I don't know what happened here.
It looks like you dropped it on the floor.
Is this safe to eat?
That chicken pot pie is terrible.
What? I love it. My favorite part is the crust part and when it's a little doughy, but also the edges are still crispy.
That's not a good chicken pot pie.
I don't think we should judge it based on this particular chicken pot pie. I am ready to get this chicken pot pie away from me.
I'll take it.
The 30th president was Calvin Coolidge, and his favorite food was apple pie. He was the only president born on 4th of July, and this was a time period when gas only cost 13 to 25 cents a gallon. Wait, Sophia, isn't this supposed to be apple pie, not cherry?
Oh, sorry about that.
That is a winner.
I absolutely love cherry pie. My least favorite pie is probably apple.
I definitely gravitate towards like chocolate, that sort of dessert.
Before moving on, I am of course gonna have to disown my sister. That was not very nice, Sophia. That was not very nice. The 31st president was Herbert Hoover, and his favorite food was sweet potato casserole with marshmallows. Herbert and his wife spoke Chinese, and it's reported that they spoke Chinese together in the White House when they wanted to have a private conversation. 如果你会说中文，写好评论。 By far my favorite Thanksgiving side, specifically the one from Boston Market.
Oh, yes.
Right? Remember that growing? Oh my God, it is just ridiculously good.
I actually think it's pretty good. I'm not a hater.
Surprisingly high for this side dish. President number 32 is the one and only Franklin D. Roosevelt, and his favorite food is the classic grilled cheese. This is a guy who pulled America through the Great Depression as well as World War II, and he was also the very first sitting president to ride on an airplane. Like, if I was 12 years old, this would probably be up there for me, but...
With a cup of tomato soup, maybe?
Yeah, I really only like grilled cheese with tomato soup.
Very average, moving on. Harry Truman was the 33rd president, and wait, am I hearing that correctly? His favorite food was a well-done steak? Okay, viewer discretion is advised as we cook this well-done steak, but to give us the best chance, I'm using this dry-aged brisket point. I'll start by slicing right down the middle to see what we got. Truman was the only president to make use of an atomic bomb in warfare, but I'd say by far his most notorious characteristic is his choice of steak. Now, I have a feeling this well-done steak is not going to be good, but what I can stand behind is Max Jerky. Check out all of our unique flavors. It is truly the best jerky in the game. Specifically, you need to try our maple bacon burnt ends. We recently made some tweaks to the recipe, and it is truly our best batch yet. I mean, just check out that hunk of sweet and smoky meat. Check out maxjerky.com or click the YouTube shopping link below and use code PRESIDENT30 for a massive 30% discount, and we appreciate the support. I apologize to you both.
I don't even want to put this in my mouth.
I thought that the brisket would make it better, because typically brisket cooked to well done is like edible. It's just not good. Steak should not be cooked to well done under any circumstances.
I will give you props. The crust has a pretty good flavor on it though.
That was bad. Dwight Eisenhower was the 34th president, and his favorite food was fudge with nuts and marshmallows. Eisenhower was one of the most influential generals during World War II, and as president, believe it or not, it was a time period where a McDonald's burger only cost 15 cents. That's like 1% of today's cost.
Oh my God.
After that well-done steak, this is a welcoming sight. Oh wow.
I want to eat that whole thing right now.
I know.
Reminds me of like hot chocolate.
So creamy and silky, dense, but still smooth. I gotta keep eating this.
I'm gonna go in on this.
That is a big W for the Republicans. President number 35 is the extremely popular John F. Kennedy, and his favorite food was clam chowder. At 43 years old, he was the youngest president ever elected during a time period where frozen dinners and Spam were all the rage. So you might not know this about us, but we're all from the East Coast, and that right there is a staple.
The chunky soup commercials, remember that?
No.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, Donovan McNabb, the quarterback for the Eagles way back in the day. His like mom, she makes this soup.
I think she's the original chef.
Donovan McNabb's mom served him Campbell's chunky beef with country vegetables.
The more modern day Democrats are putting out some absolute bangers when it comes to food, and they're starting to catch up. Number 36 is Lyndon B Johnson, and his favorite food was chicken fried steak. And LBJ sounds like my kind of guy. He ate breakfast in bed at 6 a.m. and apparently had bacon almost every single day of the week.
That sounds healthy.
All right guys, I apologize for the lack of gravy on this. I've just never understood chicken fried steak.
I think this is my first time ever having chicken fried steak. Steak needs its own crust, doesn't need to be fried.
Yeah, I definitely prefer a steak's crust.
Wasn't expecting mine to be the highest.
Our 37th president is Richard Nixon, and I had to do a double take here because apparently his favorite food is cottage cheese mixed with ketchup. Now I'm a pretty open-minded eater, but that is just wild.
Get your sloppy.
Get your slop. Though I learned that during this time period, a brand new Ford Mustang only cost $2,500. This inflation is killing us right now. There is only one thing in my head that sounds worse than putting ketchup on a steak, and that is putting ketchup on cottage cheese.
I already don't like cottage cheese. I'm honest, I might tap out on this.
No, you signed up. No.
Oh.
It's not horrible.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Dude, that was one of the worst things I've ever eaten in my life.
That is a big blow for the Republicans this late in the race. President number 38 was Gerald Ford, and his favorite food was pot roast. Ford could have played in the NFL, but decided to go to law school instead, ultimately becoming president. And with a favorite food like this, I can see how strength and protein were a big part of his lifestyle. Very reminiscent of that beef stew, but I like the flavor of this a little better.
It's like anything that goes in one of those pans with all those ingredients always tastes so good.
It is good, super rich.
38 presidents in, I'm getting full. Pretty decent scores, and I have officially developed the meat sweats. Number 39 is James Carter, and his favorite food is grits. Transparently, I do not like grits. I do not know how to cook good grits. And yes, this is instant grits. Why is it called grits?
Yeah, the name doesn't do it any favors.
Like saying your favorite food is grits is like saying your favorite food is rice. The base layer of, it's the foundation. It's not even the foundation, it's just, I hate it.
I don't want to eat it.
I feel like I just ate soggy cardboard.
We probably pissed off a lot of Southerners with these scores, but I don't regret it. Number 40 is one of the most popular presidents of all time, Ronald Reagan, and his favorite food was jelly beans. The 80s was an era defined by fashion, TV, and the rise of blockbuster movies, and Reagan apparently snacked on these as a way of quitting his pipe smoking habit. First comment I see that accurately guesses how many jelly beans I added to this bowl will win a free massive pack of all of our flavors of jerky.
How are you gonna know how many are in there?
1, 2, 11, 12, 13, 356. They rank relatively high on the candy scale, but I don't love candy in general.
Do you like combine the flavors in your mouth?
No. Savor that flavor. Select your flavor.
Sophia's favorite, buttered popcorn, that one's terrible. But the red ones are pretty good.
What? You can eat jelly beans at any time of the day. The morning, the afternoon, midday snack.
George H.W. Bush was the 41st president, and his favorite food was pork rinds. George H.W. Bush was president the year I was born. This was a time period when ribeye steaks went for only $6 a pound. Man, I was born 30 years too late.
Is that a chicharron?
Essentially.
Oh, wow. I was gonna be like a potato chip. It's way crunchier.
Dude, tell that cat to quiet down.
Hey, Boozy.
Shush. Hey.
It tastes like cardboard.
I refuse to believe my little sister does not like these. I mean, personally, I would for sure prefer beef jerky.
Whoa.
I saw that one coming. Down to the wire. Is it time for the Democrats to make a comeback? Number 42 is Bill Clinton, and his favorite food was chicken enchiladas. He's a Southern boy who, as we know, had his fair share of scandals, and he was also allergic to milk and chocolate, though he loved fast food, specifically his chicken enchiladas.
Those look pretty dang.
Frozen microwave enchiladas that have been sitting out for 6 hours look dank to you?
Ooh, that's spicy.
It is spicy.
That's very spicy. I love like Tex-Mex and stuff like that.
I don't love it.
To me, there are way better Mexican dishes. Time is starting to run out for the Democrats. Let's move on to the last few. And the 43rd president was George W. Bush, with his favorite food being a cheeseburger pizza. We're finally reaching presidents that I can distinctly remember as a kid. This was me as a 10-year-old when he was in office. These were back in the days when Facebook was just invented and MySpace was still all the rage. That is doing it for me.
I love cheeseburgers, I love pizza, and combined, match made in heaven.
I think that bite of pizza is the best bite of pizza, where you get half crust, half pizza.
Couldn't disagree more. The crust is meaningless to me. Nobody should be shocked by these scores. And our 44th president was Barack Obama, and his favorite food was somehow broccoli.
Then Mr. Obama revealed that broccoli was his favorite food. Really?
Not sure how I feel about anyone's favorite food being broccoli, but I did learn he's left-handed just like me. This one is just wrong on so many levels. The only possible chance this broccoli has is throwing a bunch of ranch on top, but even then, I'm not feeling good about it.
You almost knocked the camera off.
Really, Barack?
Really?
How could this possibly be someone's favorite? That is a huge Democrat L, and it could be the difference maker this late in the race. We've made it to the one and only Donald Trump, and his favorite food is fast food. Specifically, he loves his KFC.
All right, I'm taking off the skins.
Oh, de-skinning the KFC is a crime against humanity.
They don't know that.
I kind of respect that Trump is willing to publicly say that his favorite food is fast food.
It's a bold statement.
He's a bold guy, I guess, but like...
I believe it more. No one's favorite food is broccoli.
And with only one president left, the Democrats have a lot of ground to make up. And we have made it to the last and final president. At the time of filming, he remains the sitting president of the United States. It is Joe Biden, and he loves his ice cream. But Joe, what's your favorite flavor?
Eat some chocolate chip.
And it is time for the final taste test. All right, guys, welcome to our final president. Haagen-Dazs does it right. Personally, I prefer a vanilla base over chocolate.
I also like a vanilla base more.
I'm with you. Too much chocolate is just too much for me.
And with these final tallies, the Republicans have secured their victory in food. Let us know who you think is gonna be the next president of the United States down in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Good.
I'm so full. I'm too full. You want more fudge?
That's so
I want some
dank.
beef stew.